After a few false starts on the release date, the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II is finally here. This is a follow-up to 2021's insanely popular ZV-E10 Mark I. But is there enough new features on the new version to mean you should buy one? And if you're looking for a quick answer, then yes. Well, probably. Because some of the downsides mean that you should at least think about it before clicking the buy button. So I bought the ZV-E10 Mark II on release at the start of August. So I haven't been sent it for free, and this review is honest and my own impressions after a week or so of testing. And at that $1,000 price tag, this video is going to have to do well to make its money back. So if you want to help me out, please subscribe to the channel and drop a like on this video if you're enjoying it. So the specifications of the Mark II, and after 10 years of Sony using pretty much the same APS-C sensor for all its cameras, the ZV-E10 Mark II has a new 26 megapixel BSI CMOS sensor. This has a maximum picture size of 6,192 pixels by 4,128 and can record 4K video at up to 60 frames per second or full HD video at 100 frames per second. And if you want to know what the quality of video looks like, then this whole video has been recorded using the ZV-E10 Mark II, as well as all the example photos as videos as well. It's worth noting though, I'm not using the new kit lens to record this video, I'm using the Viltrox 23mm f1.4. And so you can see the image quality for video is very high, especially at 4K, which this video is being recorded at. I feel like the image quality after a few weeks of looking at it is definitely an improvement on the Mark I's video, which already was very impressive. The camera has 759 phase detection points for fast, accurate autofocus, which is a lot more than the Mark I, which again had very impressive autofocus, so lots of incremental changes over the old version. And looking at the physicals of the camera, when you first receive it, it comes in all recyclable packaging. Looks quite different to the old Sony camera boxes. Inside it includes the usual documentation. It has a shoulder strap, which looks like the standard one that Sony's used for a long time and isn't particularly comfortable. I don't think I'll be using this. It also comes with the wind muffler, or sometimes people call this a dead cat. This reduces wind noise when you're recording video outside. And of course it comes with the battery, which is now the larger MPFZ100 battery type, which is larger than the battery in the Mark I. The version of the camera I bought is the one that comes with the 16 to 50mm kit lens, and this is the Mark II kit lens. This comes mounted to the camera straight out of the box. This kit lens is, as you can see, very similar in size to the old kit lens with all the same specifications. So I'll be doing a full comparison between the old and the new kit lens soon on this channel, so look out for that one. One thing it is worth noting about the packaging is that it doesn't include a charger out of the box. So yes, it does use a USB-C charger, and you should already have one, but it is worth pointing out that it doesn't come with one in the box. And let's talk about the microphone. Currently I'm recording this video with a separate microphone, but let's switch over now to the onboard mic and you'll be able to hear the difference of the recording in a controlled space. Okay, and this is testing the microphone outside with a bit of wind noise so you can hear what it sounds when outside. You can hear birds and stuff going on. And this is the microphone without wind muffler. So I'm going to put that on now so you can hear the difference. And this is the microphone with the wind muffler. So it's not super windy today, and the microphone is probably around, what, a metre and a half away from me at the moment. That's what it sounds like when you're out and about. So of course the big important thing with any camera is the image quality, and so far I have been impressed. The sensor is definitely an improvement over the Mark I, not just because of its higher megapixel count, but also because it now supports 10-bit colour. It also supports picture profiles, so you can have S-Log shooting, and you can even upload your own custom LUTs for video. Not only that, video shooters can now also shoot in S-Cinetone. These settings, if you're unfamiliar, just means that you can get richer, more accurate colours, and you can apply your own creative styles to images. This gives you so much more control over the style of your shots and how they will look. Let's talk about the battery, which I mentioned before. The Mark II uses the NP-FZ100 battery, which is bigger than the NP-FW50 battery, which many of the older alpha cameras used, such as the Mark I. This, of course, makes the camera a little heavier and a little bigger, but to be honest, because it goes in the hand grip, it makes the hand grip larger, which to me makes the camera actually more comfortable to hold, but of course a little bigger. The main downside for me is that I've got loads of the smaller battery, and currently I only have one of the larger battery. A little harder for having lots of batteries ready to use on the go. Something else that I'm really enjoying about the Mark II is that it uses Sony's newer menu system, which is a huge upgrade from the Mark I. Now, getting used to this new navigation, of course, takes a little bit of time to start with. Everything isn't quite in the spot that you remember it, but this navigation and extra touchscreen controls for changing the main settings makes everything way easier, cleaner, just feels much, much easier to use. What's also interesting is that the camera can also be flipped seamlessly to vertical mode and the menus will switch with you. So if you're using it for a lot more vertical video, which we know is a lot more prevalent in the world at the moment, it makes doing that much easier. So this camera still does have a lack of buttons. It doesn't have a proper shoot mode wheel and just has the selector on the top for the options of movie, photo and slow and quick. And yes, just like the Mark I do think slow and quick is unnecessary for a main mode here. I'd much rather have had aperture priority or something like that. But at least now the switch has been changed to a slider, which means it's much, much easier to swap between these modes. Whereas in the Mark I, it was a button and you had to press it each time to swap between the modes. A small improvement, of course, but this does make a big difference when you're out shooting and you like to swap between video and photo a lot. You don't always have to now cycle back past slow and quick mode. Another small improvement that I like a lot is the memory card slot is now on the side of the camera instead of under the battery door. This harks back to a great feature of the A5100, something I always loved about that camera. This makes swapping memory cards so much easier because you can just pop it out the side of the camera instead of fiddling around underneath. Of course, in an ideal world it would have had double card slots, but hey, you can take what you get. But of course there are some negatives with this camera, otherwise I would have said, hey, buy it straight away. One of the main ones is that there is no IBIS, which is in-body stabilization. This is a massive disappointment, because especially as this camera is aimed at video creators, you need all the extra stabilization that you can get. Now Sony does say that you can get around this with their active software stabilization, which, you know, is decent, but it does apply a crop to your shot, so that when you're using it, you get a narrower shot, which isn't ideal at all. It can also be tackled by using a lens which has optical stabilization, called OSS, which thankfully the kit lens does have, but many good quality third-party lenses do not. For the price tag, it is a real shame that they have left out this feature, but I guess they had to cut corners somewhere. For a comparison, the Sony a6700 camera does have IBIS, but of course that's $500 more. However, the ZV-E10 Mark II not having this is a standout issue. Something that has improved, which was a big issue with the Mark I, is the rolling shutter issue. If you don't know what this is, when you're moving your camera when recording video, it could make this footage look very wobbly and unprofessional. Now, whilst the Mark II still only has an electronic shutter rather than a mechanical shutter, which would help alleviate this problem almost entirely, and yes, the rolling shutter isn't perfect on the Mark II, it is a massive improvement. I don't find myself having to fix this footage in post all the time to make it less wobbly. So should you buy the ZV-E10 Mark II? And yes, so far I have been impressed. Of course, the price tag did make me pretty queasy when ordering. Just a reminder of that, that's $1,000 price tag or $1,100 with the new kit lens. So it's definitely not an auto buy recommendation from me. But the improvements over the Mark I in terms of the sensor, the image quality and ease of use are big improvements. And I would definitely consider this camera if you're moving up from an older model such as the trusty A5100 or A6000. Nearly everything about this camera will be a vast improvement compared to those. The downsides, of course, are a massive shame. The lack of IBIS means that you're limited to the type of shooting that you can do, or you have to compromise by using a lens with optical stabilization, OSS, which they don't all have. My full review of the Kit Lens Mark II will be coming soon, but to be honest, my first impressions are that you should probably skip this and get a different lens if you can afford it. And of course, if you're already in the Sony E-mount ecosystem, then hopefully you should already have a lens that's better. Or to be honest, if you're just using the Mark I kit lens, I'd just stick with that rather than spending the extra money. So the ZV-E10 Mark II is a great camera for video makers and other content creators. Hopefully it's come across in this video how good the video quality is, and that it is surprisingly decent performance for photo. I definitely look at pairing this camera with a better lens, but if you do that, you'll have an excellent camera on your hands.